Welcome back to Spotlight TV. I'm your girl, Joanna Luna. We're here live on location at one of the coolest venues in the city of Toronto, The Hideout. Such an incredible opportunity to be interviewing the Canadian sensation. He's amazing. I love his music. Don Campbell, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good, man. Last time I seen you was, when was it? Like 2000 and I think 12.
Was it?
At the Hard Rock, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you again. It's good to be here.
I remember when I first met you, you had this soul. You had this rock and roll kind of vibe to you. You're very, very deep with your words. You stood out. I don't know. I remember from Canada's Talent, or actually it was a show that specifically aired with Rogers TV, putting the spotlight on local Canadian talent. And you just stood out of all the musicians. Something about your music, it stood out. Let's talk about the recent album that you recently have right now. It's such a great album right now. Let's talk about it. How it all started, because you released that last year. So let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, I released it in September last year, and then, of course, releasing an album, I worked on it for a couple of years. So since I saw you, I wrote and produced the album myself and worked on it in the studio. So it's self-produced, self-written. I wrote all the lyrics. I did everything for it. And that's a big undertaking, but I love all aspects of the recording process.
I can imagine for sure. You're a crazy connect. I love your music, by the way. I'm truly his big fan. I love it. Sounds really good. Okay. Whenever you get a chance, you guys got to tune into him. Go to doncampbellmusic.ca. Let's talk about the music that you write. So Soul, that's one of my favorite tracks. I want to know where the inspiration came from when you wrote that and you produced it.
Okay, Soul is a track that it's reflecting on it's about finding the fire in your soul and leaning into that and pursuing that, and that should be your starting base in pursuing anything in life, and that's what that song is about, is finding that fire within you and then go from there and let life come from that.
That's pretty deep. That's really good. That's a great message for our listeners and viewers there with Spotlight TV. So where does your inspiration really come from, Don? Like family, friends, previous girlfriends, partners, like where does it come from?
It really comes from, it started with my family. That's how I got started in music. And then, of course, my friends and playing in different bands and the people that I surround myself with on a daily basis, and especially in this great city of Toronto. There's inspiration to be found everywhere, and I pull from that.
I like that. Well said. Very good. Very good. So I understand, you went to Humber College. Yeah. And you had an incredible journey. You took jazz while you were studying at Humber College. What was that experience like, getting that foundation from Humber College?
Well, my experience at Humber College was phenomenal. I thought I was a pretty good guitar player coming from London, Ontario. And then you show up at this jazz school and you're like, wow, like everybody is incredible or better than you. And you can't help but, if you can embrace it, it elevated my playing and it rose my bar. And I met a lot of great musicians there, but friends that I still play with all the time, and we kind of have this connection and this bond. So I guess my connections have grown exponentially because I've gone through a program like that, and I still draw my experiences from that.
That absolutely, you have to always learn, and it's a never, you keep on always learning in life, right? So it's amazing you still took away so much from going to Humber College. And I want to know, I heard that you met Oscar Peterson. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. I actually met him a couple times. So Oscar Peterson, I mean, a Canadian icon, and he would come to Humber College and he would give talks, and they were very deep, talking about kind of becoming a musician and what it takes and looking up to your mentors. And the thing that he always said, I'll never forget this. He said, if you're sitting in a room, and he always believed in not doing drugs and not going down that path. And he said, to become the best, you don't need to go in that direction. And he told us to stay away from that. And it was a good message, because in his time growing up, there were a lot of jazz musicians that kind of dove off the deep end. So he was always inspiring, of course, on the musicality and the side, and he believed in family and morals and all of that. And he said, because you're a musician, you don't have to go to this, you know, what everyone thinks that you might become. So
That's a great advice, Don. That's amazing. I definitely see that in your career. You've definitely been a musician for many, many years now. What's the one piece of advice that someone gave you besides this advice? 'Cause that's incredible advice, eh? Because you started doing this at a very young age. Like, when did you first realize that this was it? This was like, you had like a aha moment. When did you realize that this was it for you?
it's I think when I made my decision to go to college, that was one of them, to make that leap. And I thought I was going to go into business, but then I thought, oh, this isn't quite right. This isn't what's speaking to me. And then I heard about this Humber jazz program, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to go do that. And then after that, I had a part-time job, and I was bartending and all that. And then I thought, wow, this is great, bartending, meeting people and all that. But then I remember I had a definitive moment bartending, and I thought, wow, I'm really making great money here. Like, this is great. All these tips are coming in. But I thought, I'd rather be playing. I'd rather be playing on stage. And it was that moment that I went back to Toronto, and I said, no, I want to make playing music a living. I want to pursue music. And so far, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I've been playing music full time, and I love it, and I've drawn off that passion. So there was kind of two moments, and of course you're inspired at a young age, and I was as a child, and there's that as well too. So
That's incredible, man. Like, speaking about being on stage, man, if you had to pick one or the other, stage or studio, what do you prefer?
coming from a tough day in the studio today, I love playing, I love performing. There's and I always leave it open-ended, and I love the magic that happens on stage when you have great musicians, but you also have a great bar or atmosphere, but you have an even better audience. So when you have an interactive audience and you feed off the crowd, there's nothing more magical than that experience.
Fantastic. So I want to know, okay, for more information on where our audience members can get information on you, our listeners, where can they find you?
You can find me at doncampbellmusic.ca, and from there you can see, you get all my audio links, you get video links, you can follow me on Facebook from there. So if you just go to the website, it'll take you into every direction you want to go.